All right, guys, what's up? What's up? This is DB talking now. DB talking birds. DB talking Philadelphia Eagles. Sorry, we have a 7 minute past the time late start. Um, I was actually in line at Starbucks because I'm a huge fan of getting late night coffee. For some reason, it just makes me feel warm inside. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the NFL and the Philadelphia Eagles. There's some news regarding GM Howie Roseman for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, honestly, this is it right here. College quarterback Ryan Pickett this weekend is going to go up against other college quarterback Sam Howell for the University of North Carolina. These are two quarterbacks who are listed to go in the first round at some point. Now, I know what everybody's saying about this quarterback draft class. I get it. It doesn't seem so right now that there is an elite level quarterback in this QB college draft class. But again, just to counter that argument, I mean, some people thought Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota were going to be better than Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, and look what happened to those. Look what happened to those two. So I'm just saying, you never really do know until you get one of these quarterbacks in a pro level college or in a pro level type of offense. You know what I mean? So it is kind of big news that Howie Roseman himself is going to make a personal appearance at this game. Ryan Pickett, college quarterback Ryan Pickett versus University of North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell. I do think that that's big news, and I'll tell you why. Because it comes right off the heels of the Eagles sending scouts to go see Matt Corral and Liberty quarterback Malik Willis. So the fact that Howie Roseman's going to go and get a glimpse of these guys personally this week in Ryan Pickett and Sam Howell, it's kind of a big deal. It's a big deal because it means that they might be going in that direction in drafting a quarterback with one of their first round picks in the 2022 NFL draft. Ryan Pickett, obviously, guys, he's the older one of the bunch. He's gonna turn 24 before his first NFL game. And Sam Howell, obviously, is one of the top three quarterbacks in this year's draft class, or in this upcoming draft, as far as the prospects are concerned. I got to be honest with you. I'm not on the same page with everybody else who wants to completely blast this college quarterback draft class right now. I'm just not. Sam Howell, I've seen some things that I like. Ryan Pickett, I've seen some things that I like. He's gotten a lot better. I believe he only has 27 touchdowns and 3 interceptions this year. His accuracy rating has gone up quite a bit. And he's also patient, and taking the checkdowns when he needs to take the checkdowns. So there are things to like from both of these prospects, and Ryan Pickett and Sam Howell. So I like the fact that Howie Roseman is going to go up there and go do his due diligence. Mike Nixon, welcome to the chat, my man. Happy Wednesday. Mike Nixon says, "What's up, DB? Happy Wednesday. Look out for my Giants." Excuse me. We getting healthier on offense. Our defense is starting to click. Yeah, no, absolutely agreed, Mike Nixon. Yeah, if you didn't make the stream last night, but that's kind of what I talked about last night. That was one of my talking points, which was this is like, before the Eagles played the Chargers, we had 9 games left, and I counted the Chargers as a loss and the Dallas Cowboys as a loss, and then also possibly the Saints as a loss. I saw the Eagles possibly, having a chance to go 6-3 with the last 9 games, because the last 9 games of the schedule was absolutely ridiculous. Toxic Falcons, welcome to the chat today, my man. And last night, Mike, I talked about how, the Giants put up a pretty good fight against the Kansas City Chiefs. The defense put up a pretty good fight against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Giants just recently beat the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Las Vegas Raiders absolutely crushed the Philadelphia Eagles a few weeks ago when they played. So yeah. Is there cause for pause? Sure. Is there reason to be concerned? Yes. Especially if you get Saquon back, and and you start moving the ball effectively. But I am really impressed with what your defense has done, and I do know this. The Eagles are beatable. But watch out for us as well. Our offense continues to improve week by week. Nick Sirianni is getting a little bit better week by week with as a head coach. Jalen made some huge strides in this last game, but it was the first sign of evidence since week 1 that Jalen Hurts has improved. So I'm not going to put too much eggs in that basket until I see a little bit more consistency. Mike Nixon said, and his name is Kenny Pickett. Right, Kenny Pickett. Sorry. I know I said Ryan Pickett. That is my bad. I think I was thinking about Ryan Tannehill and Kenny Pickett at the same time, because that's another quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is another quarterback who was a late first-round draft prospect, and it took him a while to get used to and develop into the quarterback that he is now for the Tennessee Titans. So you have to think about that when you're judging these quarterbacks, man. So I'm not going to be one who's going to jump to conclusions, especially right now, especially in November, about the college quarterback draft class. You know what I mean? Because they have so many opportunities to increase their draft stock right between now and April's draft that it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Tox Falcon says, yo, my dude. Yo. Tox Falcon says, Kenny Pickett is not an NFL quarterback. He's made some good strides. But here's the thing, and I brought this up because Howie Roseman is going to visit, is going to be he's going to be in attendance at that game. With Sam Howell obviously leading the University of North Carolina. So I think he's going to get a glimpse of Kenny Pickett, but I honestly think he's there more so to view Sam Howell. That's my 2 cents there. That's my honest opinion. Because I like what I've seen from Sam Howell. I really do. He gets the ball out, and he has the ability to dial up some launch codes. Toxic Falcon says, dude stayed in college for 5 or 6 years. He basically a true grown man in college football. Yeah, is there anything wrong with that? Yeah, he's going to turn 20. He's going to turn 24 before he plays his first NFL game. But it's not like it's any different from a 23-year-old prospect coming out of college. Carson Wentz was 23 when he was a rookie. Me personally, I don't like it. I mean, I don't like drafting 23-year-old rookies only for this reason, and this reason is, well, when they're 20, you got 10 years till they're 30. When they're 23, you got 7 years till they're 30. And obviously, as we know, the 30 is the average starting point for decline for players, especially running backs. But obviously, honestly, in this day and age, you know what I mean, is if he comes out when he's 24, you want to give a franchise quarterback usually has a shelf life of 10 years. I'm not saying that Kenny Pickett is going to be a franchise quarterback. I'm just saying that if he is, usually these days, franchise quarterbacks have shelf lives of 10 to 15 years. So just saying. So, I mean, and that's from the starting point of when he gets drafted and when he starts playing in the NFL. So if he comes in at 24, then and he's good enough to be a franchise quarterback, then he'll continue to play until he's 34, 35, 36, 37. Toxic Falcons says, I agree with you, Toxic Falcons. Yeah, guys, honestly, look, as far as Kenny Pickett is concerned, I know that he hasn't been good. The prior 2 years, the prior years before this year. He's just starting to get better this year. But the whole point of this conversation was to bring it up because Howie Roseman is going to be in attendance personally at that game, Kenny Pickett versus Sam Howell. So I think that's an interesting tidbit to talk about. Mike Nixon says, fun fact, my boy participated in a Temple camp with Pickett and he was ass at the camp. Cool. Very cool. That's cool that he was able to participate in a Temple camp, though, for sure. Are you saying ass, or did you mean something else? Toxic Falcon says, well, QBs can go to 38 and sometimes 40. Agreed. That's exactly my point. Exactly my point. Damien Creative, welcome to the chat. Dad, welcome to the chat. Says good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's I don't mind Howie Roseman going to that University of North Carolina game and getting a glimpse of Sam Howell. I really do not. I really do not. So but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens for sure. The Odell Beckham Jr. watch, guys, continues. Has not signed with the team yet. Obviously, he cleared waivers yesterday, and we'll just have to see where he ends up. In my personal opinion, I still hold to this, which is I don't think it's a good idea for any team to go and get the services of Odell Beckham Jr., whatever those services are, because he hasn't been relevant since 2016. Toxic Falcon says, so I would assume he wouldn't want to draft a quarterback in the first round, get some defensive first, right? No, I think that Howie Roseman is going to look at each one of these quarterbacks and more likely than not take one of these quarterbacks in the first round. That's what I believe. And I don't think it's a bad. I don't think it's a bad idea. I understand what everybody continues to say about this draft class, this quarterback draft class, and da 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 da. But I got to continue to repeat myself when I say there are so many opportunities between now and the NFL 2022 NFL draft for prospects to increase their draft stock and to really amaze us. So I'm not gonna. I understand. It looks at this point in time, it looks weaker than the rest of the draft class from previous years. But as I started out this stream saying, people thought Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston were going to be better than Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. And look what happened to those guys. Yeah, Jameis Winston was starting for the Saints this year. He's still not what his draft stock was supposed to be. Mike Nixon says Pickett was ass. Oh, okay. Pickett was ass. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's doing okay this season. You know, he's getting the ball out quick. He's being patient, taking his checkdowns, and when he needs to, and then also is throwing it accurately on all levels of the field as well. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's number one. There are some draft analysts who have listed him, and other sports analysts around the NFL who have listed him as the number one quarterback draft prospect. I don't think that. In fact, I haven't put a ranking on either of these guys yet, but I can tell you a few that I am interested in to seeing if they can get better. Interested enough to watch them as they continue to embark on their opportunities to get better, to show us what they can do between now, November 10th, and the 2022 NFL draft. There is tons of time, guys. Tons of time. Damien Creative says running backs decline at 30 years old. Have to disagree here. With an average career of 3.8 years, they're declining from the moment they start their first pro game. Yeah. No. Yeah. We're not talking about running backs. I wasn't talking about running backs. I was talking about quarterbacks. Yeah, I think running backs honestly start to decline even before then. I think it starts when they're 28. And then it starts to get into that wishy-washy area. However, LeGarrette Blount was either 30 or 31 when he helped will the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl victory in 2017. So there's that. And we're seeing some of that around the league too, with guys like Ezekiel Elliott, who's not as good as he used to be. I mean, let's be completely honest with you, but I mean, the Dallas Cowboys give him a ton of carries, give him a ton of touches. And so, yeah, you're going to take a beating. You're going to take a beating if you continue to take one. Mike Dixon says, I think a good fit for the Eagles is Carson Strong from Nevada. I feel Howe reminds me of a higher upside of Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair comparison. Here's the thing, though. I feel like Matt Nagy ruined Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not going to give him any passes, but I remember the first couple of years for Mitchell Trubisky, like he was decent. He looked like he was like he could continue to get better, but then it just turned out to be shit. So, Carson Strong is another guy that I like out of Nevada. I mean, I like Carson Strong as well. Obviously, he's risen as well. I think he's going to be right up there in the conversation with these quarterback prospects coming out in the 2022 NFL draft for sure. So, Toxic Falcon says, well, running backs get done fast because they get injured pretty fast. Yeah. I mean, obviously. There's an argument to be made for both of those things, and that makes sense. Obviously, they're the ones carrying the ball, so they're going to endure the most contact when it comes to trying to get upfield. Damian Creative says receivers maybe 30ish. QBs definitely older, but a lot of this has to do with rule changes to protect the prima donnas. I think the rule changes that they continue to make in the offseason are kind of ridiculous, especially with the taunting ones. But I mean, yeah, if you're talking about the rule changes as far as the quarterback is concerned, not much has really changed. Not much has really changed over the past year. I mean, you just can't hit a quarterback late. You can't. I mean, there's tons of things. Mitch Trubisky ruined what? I said Matt Nagy ruined Mitch. I said I feel Matt Nagy actually ruined Mitch Trubisky. Which he is, continuing to do with many quarterbacks, except for Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields did look good against the Steelers on Monday night, So we'll see. Tox Falcon says, question, would you trade for Christian McCaffrey? That's an interesting question. And the reason why it's an interesting question is because the Philadelphia Eagles were going to take Christian McCaffrey if he didn't go to the Panthers and he actually fell to them. But no, I don't think I would. I'm completely cool with Miles Sanders. I'm completely cool with Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, who, by the way, finally today the Eagles actually promoted him to the active roster. So Mike Nixon says also JT Daniels might be an interesting option too if you don't get a QB in the first round, because I like JT Daniels. Yeah, he's not bad. So Damien Creative says again, ruined what? Mitch wasn't working. Mitchell Trubisky showed some promise in his first 2 years as a quarterback for the Bears. He was decent as a rookie, and then his second year in the league was okay. But his third year in the league kind of went to shit, and the reason I believe, and honestly, this is just me taking a shot at Matt Nagy. I'm not really supporting Mitchell Trubisky whatsoever, and I'm not trying to come to his aid or defense at all. It's just that Matt Nagy hasn't had good experience with quarterbacks since he's been the head coach of the Chicago Bears, with the exception of this year's rookie Justin Fields. But honestly, I have high praise for Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields coming out of the draft. I liked what I saw from Justin Fields in the preseason, and I liked especially what I saw from him on Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought he did a phenomenal job. But as far as the previous quarterbacks are concerned, Matt Nagy hasn't really done a good job with them. So I can't tell you if Mitchell Trubisky would have done better in another offense with a different team, if his development would have continued. But his first 2 years he was progressing, slowly progressing, and then he regressed like nobody's business. So it's hard to blame just one person in that type of situation. Damien Creative says new deal for Howard on the brim. Yeah, well, Jordan Howard just got promoted to the active roster. Toxic Falcon says Sam Howell is just another Baker Mayfield. I mean, here's the thing, and this is what I dislike. It's November 10th. It is November 10th. And you guys are ready to shit on this entire quarterback draft class. I mean, here's the thing, Toxic Falcons. What if the Atlanta Falcons go out and draft the quarterback to replace Matt Ryan? In this year's draft class. So, I'll be interested to see what your opinion is. I'll be interested to see what your opinion is if maybe the Falcons draft Sam Howell. You know what I mean? And I don't think he's going to be. Here's the thing: is I don't know if he's going to be another Baker Mayfield or not. But Baker Mayfield, while he's kind of a douchebag, Baker Mayfield has been productive. You know what I mean? We'll see. I mean, we'll see how he plays. I mean, we saw what the Cleveland Browns did this past week without Odell Beckham Jr. So, I mean, Baker Mayfield, while he hasn't lived up to the hype of his draft status like 4 or 5 years ago, he's been serviceable. He's been serviceable. And there's another option too. I mean, if you think about it, is like, the Browns haven't commented on whether or not they're going to re-sign that guy. It doesn't seem like they're going in that direction. So I'm not really sure. What their plan is. Doc Spock says no. I'm saying he plays just like a Baker. I mean, is that? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's yeah. Again, I mean, it's. I mean, Baker was a really, really good college quarterback. So, Damien Creative says Philly Sports Radio pumping new deal for running back Jordan Howard. I haven't seen the details yet. I haven't seen the details yet of his new deal. But if you know what those are, then please put it in the chat. Please put it in the chat. Joe Banner obviously was previous former president or former GM for the Philadelphia Eagles, was giving an interview today and had a lot to say. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he was questioned about Russell Wilson. He was questioned about the defense. He was questioned about the 3 first-round picks that Howie Roseman is going to have. And he made some great points. Some of those points were, if Jalen Hurts can be the guy, then I think that the 3 first-round picks in this the 3 first-round picks in the 2022 NFL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles can honestly be transformational. And I agree with you, or I agree with him. I agree with him. Anytime you have 3 first-round picks in the first in the draft, it's an opportunity to really, really transform your franchise. Mike Nixon says, I can't wait for the scouting combine this year. They better have it this year, and they could have had it this year because COVID cases were dropping. Yeah, I think that they might. I think they're going to be. I think that if they do, they're going to be pretty cautious of everything that's going on. So, but we'll see. Tox Falcon says he is a better version of Mayfield. Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like it's hard to really know what they're going to be until they get into a pro style offense. So, because obviously, everybody in the NFL is a lot better. Defensive linemen are a lot faster. The game speed obviously increases, things of that nature. You're not going up against lesser talent. Kind of everybody is good on, when it comes to the NFL. It's just, who's worse among NFL players. And obviously Derek Barnett can go fuck himself. That's what I have to say about that. So, so we'll see. I mean, we'll clearly see. I do want to talk about the Eagles-Denver Broncos game, obviously this week. Yeah, it's for the Denver Broncos coming off their big win against the Dallas Cowboys and how they absolutely shut that offense down. It's a reason to worry. Honestly, this is one of those games that I kind of chalked up as it could be a win. It could be, but it will still be a tough game. But now, after seeing what the Broncos did to Dak Prescott and those guys, they could really be reeling. And Teddy Bridgewater can catch on fire against mediocre defenses. And the Philadelphia Eagles defense isn't just mediocre; they're just bad right now. They're just bad. Is Fletcher Cox on the decline? Yeah. You bet your bottom dollar he's on the decline. Anybody who doesn't want to say, or doesn't want to agree with that is completely off their rocker. But there's arguments for multiple things too. Jonathan Gannon's not putting him in the right spots, but you can't tell me that Fletcher Cox completely forgot how to get off a block. You know what I mean? Can't tell me that. Damien Creative says, yep, me too. First defensive, second defensive, and third defensive. If Jalen is the guy, hell yeah, transformational. Yeah. I mean, again, and I love hearing what Joe Banner has to say whenever he gets interviewed about the current state of the Philadelphia Eagles, because it's always so refreshing to see what he would say. And honestly, when he was asked about Russell Wilson, he actually went on to say that that's one of his biggest regrets, not drafting Russ. So, and obviously he was questioned in the form of, the rumors about Howie Roseman wanting to possibly try and get Russell Wilson because he could be on the way out of Seattle. Obviously with his, with the previous offseason's, dispute. He, if Howie can go ahead and get him, I believe Howie would go ahead and get him, because Howie honestly is, regrets that whiff as well. I think a lot of people regret that whiff. I mean, Russ was a 3rd round draft pick. Talks of Falcons. So did everyone forget about Jaden Daniels? I didn't forget about Jaden Daniels. I know he plays for ASU. He plays for ASU. So no, of course I didn't forget about Jaden Daniels. He's just not coming out in this. He's not coming out in this draft, from what I understand. Mike Nixon says, unless you're the Raiders in 2019, they drafted Farrell at 4th overall, Jacobs, and Jonathan Abrams. The only pick that panned out was Jacobs. Yeah, but if you go back and you look at what the Cleveland Browns did when they had those 2 to 3 years of having multiple first-round draft picks, which was honestly orchestrated by John Dorsey, they got some really, really good players with their multiple first-round picks. We're talking about Denzel Ward, talking about Jabril Peppers when he was a Cleveland Brown. We're talking about Baker Mayfield was obviously a part of the draft class in one of those years. And guys, honestly, I would take Baker Mayfield over Jalen Hurts right now. I gotta throw that out there. So I understand that, Baker Mayfield can be inconsistent. He can, have his inconsistencies. I would take his play over Jalen Hurts' play right now. But I would keep Jalen Hurts as the human, as the human being, because Jalen Hurts, when it comes to personality wise, I think he's top notch. I think he's top notch. That's why I root for him. I still root for him. No matter how many times he pisses me off, I still root for Jalen Hurts. It's just a matter of, can he continue to progress? And yeah, he showed some improvements in this last game against the Chargers. So firing from the pocket more than he has in the past. Toxic Falcons says, can you give us your prediction for this week's games? Yeah, I can do that. I was going to do that tomorrow, but I can do that today. No problem. In fact, I can do it today and tomorrow. We can go into it both days. So, here's the thing. I'll start with the Eagles game against the Broncos. If the Eagles win, I think it's going to be something along the lines of like, I don't know, 27-20 or something like that. Maybe 27-24. If the Broncos win, I think it's going to be like 31-20. So. All right. So Toxic Falcons says, I'll start off. Falcons 28-24. Really? 28-24. That's what you're predicting for your Falcons? Here, let me bring these up real quick. Let me go through. Okay, the Falcons are playing the Dallas Cowboys. That's right. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Toxic Falcons. I'm sorry. I think that Dak Prescott and that offense, they get revenge on not being able to do anything against the Denver Broncos, with the exception of the fourth quarter, obviously, which was garbage time and didn't really mean anything. The Broncos obviously had them shut out for most of that game. But I think that they make up for their mistakes, make up for their poor play against the Broncos, and against the Falcons. I think the Cowboys come out firing on all cylinders, 35-17. 35-17. So, but let's start first with this. Let's start first with the Thursday game, because tomorrow is Thursday. We're looking at Baltimore 6-2 versus Miami Dolphins 2-7. Yeah, I believe that the Ravens will come out and beat Miami, and I think it will be actually closer than what people think. But I think it's gonna be about 21-14, 21-17. I'll say that. Mike Nixon says, but it's always good talking to you, DB. I'm going to bed. You have a good night, bro. You as well, man. You as well. Thank you so much for joining in. Yeah, so I'm gonna say that the Ravens beat the Dolphins about 24-17. That's my prediction for tomorrow's game. As far as after that, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets. The Buffalo Bills obviously took a hard loss this past week against Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars beat them 9-6. I do think that they get themselves back on track against the Jets and come out firing on all cylinders. And I think it will be a big game for Josh Allen. I'm looking at 35-17 there, something along those lines. Tampa Bay Bucks versus the Washington football team. Let's see what Toxic Falcons had to say. Bucks win 35-10. I could see that. That's a pretty large margin of victory, but I could definitely see that happening. I mean, obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are miles above the shoulders comparing them to the Washington football team. So, yeah, I could see that. For sure. Atlanta versus Dallas. Obviously, we just talked about that. I think the Atlanta Falcons will come out, or I think the Dallas Cowboys will come out and beat the Atlanta Falcons. Although I will go back on my original prediction for this reason alone, only because I do know that the Falcons are playing better. I know that the Falcons are playing better, so I hope that they rise to the occasion and beat the Cowboys, but I just don't see that happening. Tennessee Titans versus the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans are the best team in the AFC right now. I think that they continue. I think they continue on this win streak, get a tough, hard-fought win against the New Orleans Saints. Plain and simple. Then we have Indianapolis and Jacksonville next after that. I think Carson Wentz continues to get the Indianapolis Colts back on the right track and gets them a victory against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are coming off a pretty strong defensive game. But I do believe that Carson will will them to a victory. I honestly think that Carson Wentz is going to will the Indianapolis Colts to a playoff berth. So obviously that's not good for the Philadelphia Eagles because we want that Indianapolis Colts first round pick to be as low as possible, but we also don't want them to sit Carson Wentz, which I think that discussion is ridiculous because I think that Frank Reich wouldn't do that, especially when he's he loves Carson Wentz and Carson Wentz loves Frank Reich, and Frank Reich also knows that Carson Wentz is coming off a really dysfunctional past couple years in Philly. So I don't see, if Carson Wentz is healthy, even if the Colts were 5-12 at the end of the year, I don't see them sitting Carson Wentz. Just don't. Pittsburgh versus Detroit. As much as I would love to see Detroit get their first win of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will get the win here, obviously, against the 0-8 Detroit Lions, and that will bring them to 6-3. And then Cleveland Browns versus the New England Patriots. New England Patriots are going to continue to do what they've done, and get tough, hard-fought wins with Mac Jones. But Talks Falcon says Ravens win 17-14. Talks Falcon says, are the Bengals a fluke? No, I don't think that they're a fluke. I think that they're a team in the process of getting better. That's what I think. I think they're a young team in the process of getting better. I think they're a team that's in development. Obviously with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow obviously being in his second season, and Jamar Chase being in his rookie season, and then they also have a couple young offensive linemen as well. I think that they're in the process of getting better. I don't think that they're a fluke. Los Angeles Chargers versus the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Los Angeles Chargers beat the Minnesota Vikings in a tough, hard-fought win, 27-20. Arizona Cardinals 8-1 versus the Carolina Panthers, who are 4-5. I see the Arizona Cardinals continuing their winning streak. They're getting their wins here, and the Arizona Cardinals go 8-1. Anybody know when Kyler Murray's coming back? Anybody know when Kyler Murray's coming back? I haven't gotten an update on that yet. So, and then Philadelphia versus Denver. I honestly think that Denver pulls out the win here, guys. I hate to be so down and morose about my team, but I think that the defense for the Philadelphia Eagles just sucks. It just sucks. And I want to jump to this real quick too. Is Jonathan Gannon in his press conference basically said, yeah, maybe we need to be better at calling plays at the right time. In his press conference, it's like, yeah, no shit, you need to do a better job of when you want to call press man or when you want to call press zone or whatever, but you of course. And that's the thing is I'm tired of hearing these things so late in the season. These are things that we should not be hearing about later in the season. It's you should know that you got to do a better job. You should have known that 4 or 5 weeks ago. So why are we still going through it is the problem. And then, you can attribute it to a lack of, the type of personnel that he needs for his scheme. Yeah, you could attribute it to that. And therefore it's taking the blame away from Jonathan Gannon. But also at the same time, Jonathan Gannon has tried multiple things. And I said this last night. Jonathan Gannon has tried multiple things, but they're just not executing. So therefore, in that situation, the players on defense just aren't performing the way that they should be performing. And that's a problem for everybody, especially Eagles fans. Tax Falcon says Saints will lose, but the score will be close. Titans win 27-26. I like that prediction. That's a good prediction. Toxic Falcon says Rodgers should be back this week. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. And then Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders. We skipped Green Bay versus Seattle. Yeah, I think Green Bay gets the win here if Rodgers is back. But I think Russell Wilson is on the brink of coming back as well. So, I wouldn't rule, with a late return of Russell Wilson, I still wouldn't rule out the Seattle Seahawks out of the hunt for a playoff berth. I know that they're 3-5, but if Russell Wilson comes back and plays really, really well, they're very capable. They're very capable of churning out some wins. That's for sure. Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Las Vegas Raiders, I believe, will win this game. And I think it will be like a 30-24 type game. And then on Monday night, you have the San Francisco 49ers versus the LA Rams. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. LA Rams will beat the San Francisco 49ers because the San Francisco 49ers just absolutely suck. They just absolutely suck. I mean, they played the Cardinals this past week and without Kyler Murray, and Colt McCoy had one of his best games of his entire career. So, yeah, Texas A&M, Colt McCoy, former college quarterback, former good college quarterback for the Aggies. Talks about and thinks the Raiders will win 24-10. Really, you think that they'll hold Patrick Mahomes to 10 points? Now I understand the Chiefs have been underperforming this year, but it's quite an accomplishment. Dogs Falcons, says I remember people were saying the 49ers were going to be great this season. I remember that too. I remember that too. I wasn't one of those people. I thought that they could be decent because of their defense and getting all those guys back healthy. I mean, they ran into injuries again this season. But I never really had. I really don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is what other people think that he is. So I never really had faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think that they should just, put the stick in the mud and roll with Trey Lance. Honestly, you took him at 3 overall. Toxic Falcons says the 49ers had so many injuries last year. Oh yeah, no, they were completely ravaged. They were completely ravaged along that defense. Completely. Absolutely, completely. With no hands barred, without a doubt. Without a doubt. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Guys, I think it's really telling when it comes to the OBJ watch, the Odell Beckham Jr. watch. I think it's really telling when he passed the waivers unclaimed. We're in the second day of him actually being a free agent, and we've heard the teams that he's interested in playing for, but he isn't actually really close to signing with anybody. I think he said that he was eyeing the Saints, he was eyeing the Packers, or he was eyeing the Chiefs. The Saints, Sean Payton pretty much said it was impossible. That was the quote. And so I don't think he's going to the Saints. I don't think the Saints want him. If he, for the Chiefs, I don't think Andy Reid would put up with a player like Odell Beckham Jr. Just don't. Would it be cool to watch? Yeah, because you have Tyreek Hill on the other side. And that would open up one-on-ones for Odell Beckham Jr. But again, they don't need him. They just don't. Toxic Falcon says he will be picked up later to tomorrow or Friday. Yeah, and I could see that. And I do think he's going to get picked up. It's just a matter of who and when. But let's make it. Let's do this. Let's just say, let's make a case for your team, Toxic Falcons. Let's say, how would Odell Beckham Jr. fit in the Falcons offense? Well, I think it would excite Matt Ryan quite a bit. And it would open things up for Kyle Pitts. It would fill the void of Calvin Ridley. Damien Creative says nobody wants the chaos that is Beckham. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bad idea for every single team in the NFL. And honestly, the dude hasn't been relevant since 2016. He hasn't. You don't. I guess you could make the argument that you don't know what you're getting with Odell Beckham Jr. He's not the same player that he used to be. And even if he is, or even if he could show glimpses of that on a new team, he's going to pout when he doesn't get the ball. So, there's that. There is that. Nobody should want Odell Beckham Jr., in my opinion. Docs Falcons says, nah, he's washed. Yeah. Damien Creative says Ryan is smarter than that. Yeah, Matt Ryan. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And here's the thing: is some people wanted to make the case like, oh, that could be a real Bill Belichickian move. Well, I understand that, and I know that Bill Belichick has brought in some players who seemed washed up before, like Randy Moss, for example. The difference is Randy Moss is Randy Moss and Odell Beckham Jr. is Odell Beckham Jr. I don't even think it's a good idea for the Patriots to pick this guy up. I don't even think it's a good idea for the Buccaneers. And you know how much pull Tom Brady has in that offense and in that organization. Toxic Falcons and I, obviously, Toxic Falcons, you know this. We were talking about the comparison between AB and Odell Beckham Jr. AB actually showed that he was improving personally. Odell Beckham Jr. has not shown that whatsoever. And so AB had shown enough evidence to Tom Brady that he can get right. And Tom Brady is the one who brought him in. And look, lo and behold, Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think is in the same situation. Toxic Falcons says the Falcons don't have the money anywhere to the offseason. No, yeah, I mean that's the thing. But now that he's a free agent, it's not going to cost $7 million like it would if somebody were to claim him off the waivers. Now that he's a free agent, teams can sign him for the veteran minimum. Toxic Falcons says AB is older but is better than OBJ, so why pick him up? Exactly. You shouldn't. That's that. That is that. But as far as getting back to what we were talking about earlier about, the Eagles possibly having a transformational draft, at least in the first round, is, and I've said this before, Toxic Falcons, you know this, I totally want Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton. Totally want Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton. I think that would be a great move. And the Eagles need depth at safety. Rodney McLeod is a free agent after this year. Don't know if we're going to bring Anthony Harris back. So do you feel bad for Odell? Talking Falcon says, do you feel bad for Odell? Was great with the Giants. Wait, could he go back to the Giants? No, the Giants already made a comment about it. Yeah, the Giants already made a comment about it. They're not going to go after Odell. That's the thing, is like, once you have experience with a troublesome player and then he leaves, like, you don't want to bring that troublesome player back. Like, you've already been through that circus. You've already had that experience. You've already been on that ride, at the state fair. You don't want to go back to it. Unless it's Disneyland, and I like Magic Mountain, and I like the teacups as well. I don't even know if they have the teacups still, but but I like that ride at Disneyland. I haven't been back since I was like maybe 13, but that's my point, is like, you've already been on that ride. You know that ride has some problems. You know that ride comes with chaos. You know that little event doesn't bring out the best for you. You don't want to, you want to stay away from it. You know what I mean? You see it. It's a bright red light that says, come closer. I promise you I'll do better this time. And then your immediate thought should be, no, take a giant leap step back and turn and run as fast as you can. And that's where I think the Giants are. Damien Creative says, truthfully, it's a damn shame. Beckham has had all of these gifts. However, the baggage and soap opera that he brings just isn't worth the risk. And I, too, say to anyone. Yeah. And here's the thing to go with that, too, is that Baker Mayfield is kind of like that player, too. And so, I mean, them to, getting in their own egocentric minds and having their own egocentric thoughts, it wasn't a good pairing. It really hadn't. It really was. It was never what the Giants had when they had Odell Beckham Jr. It was what the Cleveland Browns had hoped to get when they traded for Odell Beckham Jr. By the way, again, was a John Dorsey move. They never got it. And then, they signed Jarvis Landry, I think, the following offseason, and who was a college teammate of Odell Beckham Jr.'s, and Jarvis Landry became the go-to guy. And they had more success with Jarvis Landry than what they were supposed to get with Odell Beckham Jr. So, and we just saw the Cleveland Browns, win pretty convincingly in their first game without Odell Beckham Jr. So, I again, there's tons of things that go into this, and I think that one of those things is Odell Beckham Jr. made Eli Manning indecisive, toward the end of his career, and Odell Beckham Jr. There's reports saying that he made Baker Mayfield indecisive, and you can kind of see that. You can kind of see that on the field. I know that there are reports, and it is an excuse that kind of, again, is in support of the quarterbacks that have played with Odell. But look, if you have a guy who's bitching all the time about not getting the ball, and even when your team is winning, and how great that player is, yeah, you're gonna be indecisive. You're gonna be indecisive. Talk to Falcon says he's only been in the playoff once. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna attribute the lack of playoff appearances to a wide receiver. I just wouldn't do that to a wide receiver. Reason being is because, it's really not the wide receiver's fault if you can't make it to the playoffs. There's so many other key components that come first, for reasons why teams don't make the playoffs, like, how did your quarterback play? How did your coach? Did the coach do this and that? So did the coach do the right thing in a specific situation? Like, how was your running game? So, Demon Creative says, feel sorry for him? Fuck no. Beckham creates consequences by his choices and actions and then cries that it's anyone else's fault but his. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Perfect example is in one of the games this season, like the Browns, I think it was they got a rushing touchdown. They got a rushing touchdown or something like that to take a lead late in the game, and all 10 guys celebrated with the exception of one. Obviously, that's why I say 10, because there's 11 guys on the field. And that one who did not go and celebrate with the team was Odell, because rumor has it that, the touchdown didn't go to him. So, I mean, do you really want that on your team? Is that something that you really want to bring? No, it's not. I mean, and I've seen some of the blogs, I've seen some of the posts by some of the fans, and some say, oh yeah, he should go to the Cardinals because Kyler Murray can obviously throw the ball, and AJ Green is not what they expected him to be. Well, no, honestly, if I were the Cardinals, if I were the Cardinals GM or the front office organization, I would say this: look, we're 8-1. We're 8-1. We've lost. Our one loss came very close to the Green Bay Packers. We don't need to change anything. Why bring in Odell? Damian Creative says the Browns win in spite of Odell's departure. Yeah. Yeah. If Odell didn't cry when he was with the Giants, he wouldn't be in this situation. Well, Odell had a massive meltdown when he was with the Giants. So that I do remember. Damien Creative says, why would Arizona want to fuck up that locker room? They wouldn't. These were just comments by some fans. And honestly, it's Arizona. They don't win often. They want to do everything they can to keep winning. Difference is that they don't need to change anything. I mean, they absolutely destroyed the San Francisco 49ers this past week with Kyler Murray out. Kyler Murray's been out for the past couple weeks. They're going to get him back soon. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about with Arizona. I have a lot of faith in Arizona. I think Arizona is going to make a deep run. They remind me a lot of the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. They really do. They really, really do. Damien Creative says, "What's for dinner?" Oh, hot and spicy. Hot and spicy. Off the dollar menu. But, it's cheap. It's cheap, but it's good. And you know how much I love chicken, so. But, yeah, guys, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I'm really interested to continue to watch Carson Wentz. Honestly, I'm really interested in continuing to watch Carson Wentz throughout the rest of the season. It's a shame that they lost to the Titans a couple weeks ago. Carson just threw a bad ball in overtime. That could have been a win, and they could be 6-4 right now, I believe. What's their record right now? Yeah, they could be. Oh yeah. They could be 5-3 right now, or 5-4. But they're not. But I think Carson will continue to will that team to the playoffs. So, again, also, obviously, with what we talked about earlier in the stream, Howie Roseman going to personally be an appearance at the Kenny Pickett versus Sam Howell University of North Carolina game. Gonna be interested. Probably gonna follow that game as well and see how either one of those quarterbacks do, and obviously be high alert as far as Eagles news is concerned on what Howie Roseman may have thought about either one of those quarterbacks. So hopefully there's some leakage there post that game. So Damien Creative says, "Nice." Yeah. I got 2, so I have another one. So I'm not completely finished, but all right, guys, this is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you guys so much for joining in tonight. Again, happy Wednesday to everybody. One love, and go Birds, baby.